and welcome to another bookish video from me, Johanna, me, my dog and books. It's time! It's the second last reading wrap up of the year. And this month was a stonker. I read 15 books. So if you've not seen any of my reading wrap ups before, I'm going to hit you with some of my stats. Fast forward if you're not a stats person. And then I'll do a quick fire review because I had a 5-star read and 2 almost 5 stars, so probably like 4.75 maybe, and a couple of but I'll get stuck in. I'm trying to use the daylight while I can to record this, and I've got my notes because there's a couple that aren't here because I've either returned them to the library or listened to them on audio. Now I'm going to quickly get my laptop up and talk to you. No, I've actually got 2 5 stars, I've just remembered. Let me check. So, put this down just now. So, this month, as I said, I read 15 books, and here are my moods. So, if I look at it compared, like, this seems to be a general trend. Mysterious, dark, emotional, intense. Yeah, that's me. Also Lucy. So, mysterious, dark, emotional, intense. Seems to, and the least one, gosh, I need to do more hopeful and adventurous reading apparently. Although I would say, there is a book in here that I would say was very hopeful and adventurous. My pace has been mostly medium, with a couple of fast-paced ones. In this month, about 60% of my books have been over the 300 to 499 mark. So I'm surprised I managed to get through so many books. Quite a few I was doing on audio, as you'll see when it does my formats. Mostly non-fiction. I think there's maybe one, mostly non-fiction. Mostly fiction, and I think there's maybe one non-fiction in this. Yeah, there is. And then here's the genres. If you've seen any of my videos before, you'll not be surprised by this. Format, almost 70% audio this month. It's because I have been a busy bee, and so I've been consuming a lot of books on audio, which thank goodness, because probably I would have read about 3 books max. And my average rating is, what was it, 3.29 stars. So not too bad. A couple of low ones. Not bad. Not bad-o. Let's get stuck at... You happily featuring in this, Lucy Lou? Where's your sidekick, Patty Cakes? She must be through in the other room. So in no particular order, it's literally the order I've got them in. I'm going to start with a 5-star, which was Coup de Grâce by Grâce. I don't know what... I actually don't know what accent that was in. Coup de Grâce by Sofia, Ajram. It's a tiny novella. I think it comes in at like, yeah, less than 150 pages. Content warnings for this around topics of suicide, depression and anxiety. This was a horror book that is definitely my top books of 2024. I gave it 5 stars. You follow a character who is basically on, is it the metro, the subway, to go somewhere to end their life, but then gets off the subway and seems to be stuck in this sort of endless trap within the subway. Anyway, that's all you need to know. Don't need anything more about it. If you like horror and are okay with some of that content, I highly recommend this book. My jaw dropped with the ending and some of the twists that came up here, so now this is an author I'm keeping a close eye on. Next up was one I was very excited about. This is a thriller called The Trap, and in this one there's a woman that's stranded in a dark road, and it starts like that. She's stranded in a dark road and she waits for someone to pick her up, and then you kind of hear her internal monologue trying to figure out, is this guy that picked her up going to kill her, or is a good guy? And then you suddenly quite quickly determine that actually she's trying to find the bad guy, and the reason for that. It had so much potential in my eyes, but it just didn't deliver, I'm afraid. However, I do really like Catherine Ryan Howard, so I would say that give it a go. It might just be me or my mood, or sometimes thrillers. I wanted so much more from this and it didn't give me it. I actually think Survive the Night by Riley Sager is a better one, in my opinion. Next up is a middle grade from one of my autobi authors, Tiffany McDaniel. Tiffany McDaniel wrote my favourite book of last year, which was On the Savage Side. Still has my heart. And another book that will feature in my top books of this year, which is Betty, both of which are historical contemporary fiction books with dark topics. This one, as you will clearly see, is middle grade, and it's called Sky Full of Dragons, The Wand Keepers, Book 1. Now, you could read this book as a standalone, kind of, and leave it at that, I would say. She creates an absolutely poetic, magical world where you have Spella, who lives with her aunt Cauldron Eyes, in a world where they make, what's it they? This is more about what, because our aunt, so they kind of make magic hats for people, and it's honestly, I don't want to spoil too much in it because it's glorious. There's spells, and do you know, if you enjoy kind of magic and middle grade and just being in a whimsical, fantastical world, please pick this up. This felt like the book I'm just reading right now, really needed right now because of what's going on in the world around us and all of that. And I'm just like, this was pure escapism. There's absolutely brilliant representation in here, and it's natural. It doesn't feel tokenistic in any shape or form. Like her friend that she meets at the school, he has a hearing dragon because he's hearing impaired, and it's just and in the magical world and in the school and where they use magic, they don't want to use animals anymore because that's not fair on the animals. Honestly, utterly adored it, and I will 100% be reading book 2 whenever that comes out. Next up was one that I got from the library. It was actually dead chuffed it was in. It was a horror movie by, I must have finished this just at the end of October, start of November. Horror movie by Paul Tremblay. It's all it's basically about a movie called Horror Movie that was never quite finished, and there's all these rumours and myths around it, and then the original cast members being contacted to be in the reboot of this movie, found footage, all of that kind of online sort of rumours and stuff about the book, and it had so much potential. I feel like this with a lot of Paul Tremblay books. So much potential. I'm not even sure if there's a Paul Tremblay I love. The premise of a lot of his stories I really think I would adore, so I keep trying. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't buy it because it was a black-edged Spreadsheets edition that I got from the library. It was beautiful, but so disappointed. Another story I was disappointed in, and I finished this just the other day, glad I got it from the library, was the Mistletoe Mystery by Nita Prose. So Nita Prose wrote The Maid, and then book 2, which was the mystery guest. So it's kind of like cozy mystery. I wouldn't say there was much of a mystery in this one, and there was a lot of romance. So if you actually like cozies with quite a focus on romance, I would say pick this up. I mean, it's teeny, so if you can get it second hand or from your library, do so. Molly the maid, I absolutely adore. I love her relationship with her gran, but see her relationship with her boyfriend Juan. I do think Molly just needs to have more love for herself and not be reliant on Juan and not be so grateful that Juan loves her. And so there's a lot of that in this book, which I was just like, Molly, you don't need a guy to like validate you and your feelings. You're just magical on your own. So on that basis, I gave it like 2.75 stars. Next one was a chunk that I thankfully got through thanks to audio. It is Wellness by Nathan Hill. This, right, I'm going to read you the synopsis a bit because I don't even know how to describe it. So it says, moving from the gritty 90s Chicago art scene to suburbia of detox diets and home renovation hysteria, Wellness mines the absurdities of modern technology and modern love to reveal profound, startling truths about intimacy and connection. In this follow-up to Hill's electric debut, Wellness reimagines the love story with a healthy dose of insight, irony and heart. I mean, it's a kaleidoscope of commentary about relationships and how, you know, like fitness trackers or social networks or like even like threesomes. And honestly, it felt like at times a bit of a fever dream, to the point where I'm sure I probably would have DNF'd this if I wasn't reading it for book group, which is on Thursday this week. So I really struggled with it. I got to the point where I was listening to the audiobook on ×3. Now, if I've not read the next, which he wrote, but I have seen lots of really high rated reviews for this book, so I think it's either a book that you love or hate, which is good because I think it's better than just going meh. So yeah, that was a chunk. Glad I read it, which is what book group's all around about, discovering different books and authors and genres you wouldn't normally pick up. So the discussion will be interesting, I'm sure. Next one, I'm looking at my notes. Caramel Pecan Murder Roll. Got this on audio from the library and I read it because it kind of gave me autumn vibes. It's Joanne and Fluke. And I love intermittently jumping into these books. They are, I mean, it is way further down in the series, so I have read the beginnings of this series years and years and years ago, and I've got some of the old editions. It is twee, it's cosy, yeah, the romance bit's a bit meh, but not like, it's alright, it's not a big factor, but there's a cookie bakery, there's a murder to be solved. It was a palate cleanser, I have to say. So, not amazing, but, you know, cozy mysteries are just, some of the cozy mysteries, not all, are just escapism, pure escapism. Oh, and then the other one, so I mustn't have finished this. Oh no, because this one was also book group, but it was for early November, and I've just finished this before my December one at the end of November. This one was called The Last Boat Home. It was, the person that picked it sometimes picks some of the kind of free Kindle options. And I would say if you enjoy a romance and a bit of being set in France and different timelines, check it out if you can get it free on Kindle. It's not my cup of tea. It was more romantic. Just, that's all I want to say about it, to be honest. So it's good discussion, but I think everybody in the group knew from my face and my reactions, like, it's not really my thing. Anywho's, I'll keep the last one that I don't have with me today towards the end because that was almost a 5-star. Then I've been reading quite a few for groups. So this was for Lauren the Books Book Club, Patreon Book Club. Silver Sparrow by Tayari Jones. She wrote An American Marriage. And I totally forgot the book group chat. I think it was the Sunday my mum was over. And so, yeah, I forgot that. It's Secrets. My father James so it's basically about a bigamist. My father James Witherspoon is a bigamist. Dana and Charisse are sisters, bound together by a life-changing secret of their father's double life. Only one of them knows the truth. When they do finally meet and form a friendship, the fragile balance of ignorance and silence that has kept James's secret safe for so long threatens to explode. Interesting concept. I loved the characters. I just really struggled to get really stuck into this. But Lauren in the books picked it because it was a reread of like a book she really, really enjoyed. So I believe this went down quite well on book group chat. I don't know. Maybe it was because I was listening to audio. Like I was listening to it on audio when I was moving a ton of slate that had been delivered in our driveway to the back of the house. So you think that would be a welcome distraction. It was interesting. It just maybe was longer than it needed to be. But if you like the synopsis, check it out because it's a very interesting story on the complexity of family relationships, especially when you're like the secret family and everything that comes with that. And obviously very much about messy families. So, do check it out. Next one was one I'd been wanting to read for years. I think this is the 40th anniversary edition, or has been Flowers in the Attic by Virginia Andrews. I think this is in a series. So, but you could probably read this as a standalone. I'm not very good with series, to be honest, but I'll keep you posted. You follow a family. Well, kids, Chris, Kathy, Corey and Carrie have the perfect life with their mum and dad until their dad dies, and all of a sudden their mother is in financial dire straits but has a very rich father who ostracised her when she got together with her husband, father of her kids. So she goes, kids, we're going to go back, I'm going to make amends with my dad and we'll have money. But for the first week or so until I tell him we have kids, because he'll disown me, I need to hide you in the attic. And then 4 or 5 years pass. It's dark, it's disturbing. There is a scene in this book that even if you've not read this book, that the book is known for. And I have to say, I think it's a bit unfair for it to be referred, like for that to be a scene that it's so renowned for. It's probably quite shocking at the time, to be fair, but it's so fleeting and it fundamentally is not the crux of the main story. So disturbing, dark, tense, kind of reminded me of like Mummy Dearest, the movie, but recommend. That was definite 4 out of 5 stars for me. Then another middle grade, and this is a great series. Says me that say I'm not very good at series. This is book 2, so I'm not that bad. Of Fright Watch, and this is the Collectors. The other one's called the Stitchers, and there's 2 characters in this. You've got Quinn and Mike, who are besties in this small town in America, who you meet in book 1, and they often find weird stuff happening in their neighbourhood that they need to figure out, and it could be a supernatural element or a haunting element. Great. And what's this one? Yeah, the ladies in white. There seems to be a group of ladies in white, and we're like, where are they from and what are they all about? So they go investigating, which is the same and similar but a different story in book 2. I would say you would have to read book 2 to get into book 3. This is great though. I absolutely enjoyed it. I'll read Lorien Lawrence's books. There's a third one, I think it's called Unmasked, which I want to get hold of. And I have to say, I highly recommend Spooky Middle Grade, because if you want to dabble in horror, but like horror is too scary for you, this is a nice middle ground with middle grade. Next one is another thriller I picked up because I read Bright Young Women by this author, which is a twist on the retelling of the true crime of Ted Bundy, except it's not about Ted Bundy, it's about his victims. And she cleverly never mentions Ted Bundy's name in that book. Great book, highly recommend it. So I picked up this thriller, Luckiest Girl Alive. It's very much a story of a woman who today has what seems perfect life, perfect marriage, perfect job, perfect stuff, but she has a dark secret from many years ago. A documentary producer wants to make a story about something that kind of happened to her. Yada, yada. I would say content warnings for things like sexual assault and stuff like that. This had, so in my opinion, had so much potential, but for some reason I really struggled to get really into it. I really struggled with the storytelling. And that, I feel bad saying that, because I loved Jessica Knoll's latest book, which is Bright Young Women. For something, I got to the end and I was like, oh. And it had so much potential, but I can't really pinpoint what for it wasn't really engaging for me. It wasn't as addictive as the blurb. You know, the blurb says, love Gone Girl, we promise this is just like addictive. In my opinion, it's not, but if you find it that way, I'm glad, because I didn't, and so surely someone should. Good housekeeping, thought so. Then, oh my god, I just realised I'm talking to you and going, I don't like a series, I'm not very good. Book 2, Malorie. So this is book 2, the sequel. I was like, what's a follow-up to something? The sequel to Bird Box. Bird Box by Josh Malerman is, yes, the book that the movie is based on. Bird Box, the movie, is, amazing, 5 stars. Bird Box, the book, amazing, 5 stars. Malorie, the sequel, maybe 3? I had such high hopes, and to be fair, it's quite a hard story to follow up on, but you follow on from the story, maybe I think it's maybe a decade from then, and they're still in that world, and you follow the story of Malorie and her 2 kids, and follow their journey to the end. So much potential. So much potential. But then I finished the month with another maybe it is a 5 star, because I don't like rating memoirs, but Love Pamela by Pamela Anderson. Now I can't remember if it was someone on here or Instagram that said to me when I was talking about memoirs, I read Pamela Anderson's memoir. It was really good, and so I put a request on it on my Libby app, and it came through, and I listened. It's not that long a book, because the audio I think was only 5 hours. She reads the audio, which I really enjoyed. And wow, once again, as I would say with the Paris Hilton and the Britney Spears memoir, our misconceptions that have been created by the media about these women are completely wrong. Pamela Anderson, well, to be fair, I've always thought Pamela Anderson isn't quite the person that the media portray because of her activism. So I've always had a soft spot for her because of her activism for PETA. And she does a lot of other activism as well. But by God, her love of art and poetry is of a level that people make assumptions about a pretty blonde with, effectively a big book, like Dolly Parton, that people look at Dolly Parton, she was deemed that bitch, oh my god, she's the book fairy of the world, is Dolly Parton. Pamela Anderson, she's so well read, she speaks French, she can, she knows Shakespeare's sonnets off the top of her head, she loves reading, she loves art and culture. She's been an activism in respect of not just wildlife, but even for the likes of Julia Assange and all of that. And through all of that, everything that you're probably aware of in the media about the sex tape, which was never a sex tape for anyone to see, and they never released it. For her love of bad boys, her 2 sons that are her absolute everything. And also she talks about, Lucy's also try to get onto the beanbag again if you can hear noises. Does this every time I record a video. Her love of her boys, and for her boys to have a kind of normal upbringing, not that of a celebrity mum and dad, is outstanding. She talks about when she took the role of Roxy in Chicago. I could have listened to her for ages, to be honest. I've absolutely loved it, and actually in hindsight I think I might give it 5 stars. not that you should always feel bad about rating memoirs because it's someone's story, but when I rate a memoir, it's not about the plot because this is their life story. It's mostly about how it's been written and how that story is told as opposed to, you know, their story. No! She's wanting out the back because I've topped up the bird feeders outside and it's all muddy out there, and she wants to go around sucking up any seeds that have fallen, but it's so muddy that I'm just going to have to like wash her paws when she comes in. That aside, here now is another one of my 5 stars. So I would say that's 3 5 stars. 3 5 stars. Because actually when I talk about Love Pamela by Pamela Anderson, it makes me feel joy. And it's We Used to Live Here by Marcus Clure, which if you've seen any of my videos over the last few weeks on the run up to this, you'll have seen that I was reading it. Wow. This is good haunted house, like psychological, absolutely messing with your head horror. You follow, so there's a couple who, oh my god, why can I never, I've literally not finished it. Charlie and Eve. So Charlie and Eve are a young couple who have just moved into this new house, and I think Charlie's out at the time, and so Eve answers the door to this family, or this guy whose family are in tow, saying, hi, hope you don't mind, but you know, I used to live here as a kid, do you mind if we have a wee nosy? Eve starts to think, oh god, if only our wife was here so she could maybe go, hi Charlie, some strangers came out in the house, can you tell me not to let them in? But she's a people pleaser and she lets them in. And then they won't leave. Well, it's not that they won't leave, stuff happens. Oh, and stuff happens, and this becomes an absolute mind bender of a story. I would say go in just knowing that, and it unravels and it unravels again, and then it unravels at a level I was like, whoa. And interestingly enough, so there is multimedia in this because you have like extracts from different, so this one's an extract from an unpublished manuscript, but it could be an extract from something else, and at the end of each of the extracts is Morse code. So I wrote down, I'm not going to show you it because it could be a spoiler, I wrote down each of the words, and by the end of it you have a sentence at the end of the story. This was tense, this was disturbing, this was dark, this is everything I love in kind of psychological, is it paranormal? Is the question? Disturbing horror. I mean, it's not, I think this is an accessible horror and it could almost be seen as a dark thriller, but it's horror for sure. And apparently this has been optioned even before it was a full novel. Like, I think, what did it say, the author? It says film rights were snapped up by Netflix. Oh no, wait a minute. So his debut novel, Marcus Clure, his debut novel, We Used to Live Here, began as a serialised short story on Reddit, where it won the Scariest Story of 2021 award on the No Sleep forum. Film rights were snapped up by Netflix and it was acquired by Simon & Schuster in the US for publication even before it had been extended into a full-length novel. My neighbour was driving past and was like, I look like I'm just sitting at the window talking to my camera, which to be fair, I am. He lives in Vancouver, Canada. This will be in my top books of the year, I think. I really, really, really like this. If you like horror, check it out. And that is my reading wrap up for the month of November, which means we've only got one more month left until my December wrap up, and then my end of year wrap up, which is I normally do my top 10 books of the year. Someone asked me actually, would I do like, so I do top 10 books a year, but would I do like my top books per genre or something? If that is of interest to you, please let me know so I can start getting my thinking cap on. If you liked this video, please give me a like, maybe a subscribe, and feel free to give me a comment. I do love responding to your comments. I'm not the fastest in the world, but I will respond to your comments, all of them. And if you've watched this far and don't know what to say, give me a little book stack emoji. And I just want to say thanks as always for watching, for liking, and if you already do subscribe, thank you very much. And I will be back very soon with another bookish video. And although I'm not doing Vlogmas because that requires you to commit to a video a day, and I have a full-time job and other such life admin, life just being an adult commitments, it's not doable. But I am going to try and do a wee bit of bonus videos. So I normally do 2 videos a week, so there might be on the odd occasion a 3rd video popping up. Anyway, TBC. But until then, until next time, thank you for all your kind words and comments and for watching. Bye!